I would probably say, these are gonna be talking about these are like real crimes. Like, I would imagine that this is probably gonna be triggering to some people. I would assume that this is gonna be triggering, for sure. These are real cases. This is real. These are real people and real crime that has happened. So just be aware. Okay, here we go. Okay, here we go. Okay.
What makes the case of Jennifer Pan unique among others in the true crime genre is the overabundance of raw footage freely available in the public domain. There is over 11 hours of material that not only recounts her entire life in meticulous detail, but gives us considerable insight into her psychopathological state. Jennifer herself will narrate her own story in this video, which is the reason the following lead-up segment will be condensed, as a brief outline is all that is needed before delving into the extraordinary mind of this individual. Jennifer was born in Markham, Ontario, where she was raised with her older brother in a middle-class household. Her parents, Beek and Han, were originally from Vietnam, and their method of parenting was strict. Very strict. What some might even class as authoritarian. Success and achievement from their children were seen as outright obligations, whether it be in academics or extracurricular activity, and some might argue these expectations took precedence over the well-being of the children themselves. Jennifer initially took the imposed pressure in her stride and put everything she had into figure skating. She had exceptional talent, and at one point was expected to compete in the Winter Olympics, but she suffered a serious knee injury at the age of 14 and was told she could no longer compete. Her dreams were cut short, but of more concern was that her parents' expectations now had to be met through the more traditional route of education. And the issue was that Jennifer wasn't anywhere near as academically gifted as she was athletic. She was averaging a C- when her parents wanted straight A's. So rather than communicate with them, she decided to meet their expectations under false pretenses and began faking her test results. This led to her faking her end-of-year report cards, which eventually led to her faking a high school diploma, and then a university acceptance letter to study pharmacology. In the abstract world of her parents, Jennifer was on her way to a noble and well-paid career in medical healthcare, when in reality, she was a high school dropout living with her drug dealer boyfriend, whom she had been dating in secret for almost 8 years. She was eventually found out in 2010 when her parents discovered she had been living a double life, and was then given an ultimatum. At 24 years old, she had to choose between one of two options. Option one was that she had to live at home under a strict regime, cease all contact with her boyfriend, and only leave the house to go back to school and pursue an education. Option two was that she could do whatever she wanted, but she would then be disowned from her family. She could never return home, and all financial support would cease immediately. Jennifer evidently decided neither option would suffice, so she created option number 3. She had her boyfriend arrange a mock home invasion, where 3 of his acquaintances would enter the Pan household and stage a robbery gone wrong. The 2 instructions were to first ransack the home and then murder the parents. The planned date was Monday the 8th of November, with the scheduled time being roughly 11 p.m. Jennifer would unlock the front door, and 3 figures were caught on a neighbor's surveillance camera entering the home at 11:05. They were then seen running out just under 18 minutes later. It was at that exact time 911 received a call from the same household.
One P.
Beek Pan was shot twice, once in the neck and once in the head. She was killed immediately. The father, Han, was also shot twice, once in the shoulder and once in the face. He astonishingly survived and was put into an induced coma once he arrived at the hospital. Jennifer was taken to the same hospital as a precaution, but was soon cleared of injury. She sat by her father's bedside for roughly 3 hours before she was taken to the Markham police station to give a statement as a witness.
I want to go through a form with you. It may seem kind of, why you're doing this, but this is it's like you're swearing to tell the truth about what you're going to talk to me about, and it's also going to explain to you the penalties for not telling the truth. I don't expect you to help me, but for a homicide investigation, anyone who's very close to the investigation, we do this with.
Those are his screams.
So this isn't
his screams
that you're not going to tell the truth. This is more of a feature that you understand the importance of telling the complete truth.
Jennifer is not a suspect at this moment. She is only giving a voluntary statement under oath. She has not read her right to silence, but instead informed of her rights as a witness. She is basically told that fabricating evidence with the intent to mislead is an offense. After reading the notification off paper, the detective gives Jennifer a more human explanation of the instruction.
What I've just explained to you is you're here voluntarily to help us, that you don't have to talk to us if you don't want to, but the importance of talking to us, and if you're talking to us, the importance of telling the truth. And if you don't tell the truth, there's criminal consequences for not telling the truth. That's all that stuff had to deal with. Okay?
The investigator then leaves to get the Commissioner of Oaths, which is for the purpose of swearing in the witness, but he first brings in a box of Kleenex. This is universally recognized as getting startled, yet the official term in neurophysiology is the startle reflex via auditory stimulus. Hyperarousal from a traumatic event can often exaggerate this response in a manner similar to how Jennifer reacted to the sound of the door.
Hello, my name is Andrew Spiro. I'm the Commissioner of Oaths with York Regional Police. I'm here so you can give a truthful statement, either by solemn affirmation or swearing on the Bible. Which do you prefer?
Swearing on the Bible.
Okay, just put your hand on the Bible. Do you, Jennifer Pan, swear that the evidence you shall give on this investigation shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Once Jennifer is sworn in, the lead investigator returns to collect the statement.
Now I want you to sort of take yourself back to earlier on today, yesterday, meaning the 8th of November, and tell me about your day. Okay, start at any point in time, wherever you feel comfortable, and then we're gonna move forward. Okay.
Yesterday, probably around 9 o'clock in the morning, 9:30. My mother. She woke me up and she told me that she was going to visit my grandfather.
Throughout the day, Jennifer explains that she practiced piano, studied piano history, talked on the phone with her friends, and had dinner with her parents. Her mother left for line dancing at 8 p.m. and returned home at about 9:30, at which time Jennifer was alone in her room watching TV, ready to go to sleep.
And then suddenly I just heard my mom calling for my dad to come down. And that's when I lowered the volume on my TV, and I could hear the voices weren't any voices I was very familiar with.
She said she was tied up on the phone.
I was scared and I couldn't move. I just sat in my room for a while. And then I thought I heard them all leave the top floor, and I peered out of my bedroom door. And a guy was there, and he came at me and had string in his hands and tied my arms back and said, I have a gun behind your back. Do what I say. If you do what I say, then no one will get hurt. Where is the money? Show me where your money is. My mom kept trying to get up, and they kept telling her, sit down. And so I didn't want her to get hurt. I told her, Mom, sit down. They were trying to find her wallet, but her English isn't good, so she kept saying purse. They kept pushing her down onto the chair.
Okay. Take your time. Take your time. All this is very important, so take your time.
Jennifer's nonverbal communication up to this point has made sense, and the reflection of her mother's last moments seems to push her over the edge. It could be assumed the detective still considers Jennifer a victim at this moment, but in the next moment, he will start becoming suspicious.
They kept all the lights off on the main floor. The only time there was light was when they opened the fridge door to see if they could find where my mom's purse was.
In the fridge?
Take yourself back to a moment in your life when you have been overwhelmingly upset about something, and at the same time were trying to explain to someone why you were upset. You wouldn't quietly and reservedly convey the events. You would likely blurt them out in a forceful and disordered manner. Your sole focus would be on processing your thoughts and conveying them into speech. The emotional turbulence of severe hysteria and grief makes it very difficult to convey thought into actual dialogue, and the simple wording of a sentence becomes very challenging. Jennifer seems to be more concentrated on how she's being perceived, yet finds her words easily and executes her sentences perfectly.
One of the gentlemen asked my father if he had money in his wallet and where his wallet was. So they took me, because I was next to the stairwell, they took me up the stairs to show them where my father's wallet was. But I didn't know. They had turned the room upside down. I didn't know where his pants were at that time.
The intruders retrieve $1,100 from the master bedroom and then tie Jennifer to the upstairs banister.
Next thing I know, I think I heard my parents going down the stairs, and my mom was asking them for me to come with them. They wouldn't let me come with them. And after they said, the last things I heard them say was, "You lied to us. You lied to us." And then I heard 2 pops. My mom screamed. I yelled out for her. And a couple more pops.
Take your time. Take your time.
And I think I heard my mom say or moan or something, and then they did one more before they left, and then one of the guys said, "We have to go now, it's been too long." And then they ran out the door, and I think once they were out the door, I heard my dad go up the stairs, and at that point...
Jennifer has clearly gotten her story straight beforehand, yet in the next moment appears to realize how unusual it is that she was able to make a phone call when her hands were tied behind her back to a banister. She hesitates, stutters, and even looks to the detective for approval twice before she quickly moves on.
I had my phone on me, behind me, that I had hidden there that they didn't know about. So... I had my phone on me, behind me, that I had hidden there that they didn't know about. So when I thought that they had heard them all leave and my dad ran up the stairs, I whipped up the phone and I called 911. But I still hadn't heard anything from my mom, and all I could hear was my dad running on the street, just moaning and making sounds.
The detective then breaks the event down into components and has Jennifer go through each moment in more detail. The first of which is the appearance of the intruders.
Jennifer they tied her hands while her phone was in her hand, huh?
The only thing I can remember was he had dreadlocks.
He had dreadlocks. So can you describe his race to me?
He was black.
Was his head covered? Was his face covered? Do you remember anything about that?
Just that his dreadlocks were kind of flopping all over the place. I couldn't really see his face, and they kept the lights dark as much as possible.
Did he have a gun?
Yes.
Did you see the gun?
I only saw the top part of the gun.
What did it look like?
Kind of, it was black.
Yeah. Do you know where the other guys involved in this are?
I know one stayed with my parents downstairs.
Okay.
The other one, I'm not, at that point in time, I was more focused on him, he was seeing me and he was coming after me.
So you're saying there's 3 for sure?
Yes.
That's all, you saw a total of 3 at one time, you saw 3 people together?
Yes, when I went downstairs, I saw 3 shadows.
She details the appearances of the other two assailants, whom she asserts were also black males. The detective then brings her back to the one in charge.
Now, the first guy who spoke to you, what kind of, did he have any accent? Was
None
it
that
clear?
I could make out.
Was it clear English?
English.
Unbroken?
Unbroken.
No accent?
From the terms he used, I didn't get to pick up an accent, no. He used
So-
short phrases.
He sounded Canadian.
I would say, yes, he was born here.
He was born here.
She asserts that the second intruder didn't speak, while the
How
third
does
had a
she
Caribbean
know
accent.
that, huh?
She then goes on to say she was taken downstairs for
He
a
was
brief
born
moment
here, huh?
and saw her parents under guard in the living room. Her father was asked where his wallet was, and he told them it was in the master bedroom. Jennifer was then taken back upstairs alone with two of the assailants to help them find it. They don't find the wallet, but instead retrieve a pile of cash from inside the nightstand. Jennifer was then tied to the upstairs banister and left alone as the intruders went back down.
And the next thing I can hear are them telling my parents to move to the basement.
Okay?
And I'm asking them, why, where are you going? And my mom's yelling to me, I want my daughter. Why can't my daughter come too? I want my daughter.
Jennifer then hears one of the intruders yell, "You lied to us."
Who do you hear yelling, "You lied to us," or to that
Number
extent?
3.
Number 3.
I'm assuming it's to my father. Because he was the one asking for the wallet.
Now you hear this commotion downstairs. You said you heard 2 pops.
Too
And
many
you heard
holes.
who scream? Your mom. And what was she screaming? Do you remember?
Couldn't make it out. It
No?
was kind of like a cry yell, so it was just,
Okay.
they had made the first round, or pop, and they had said, okay, that's enough. Let's go.
Who said that? Whose voice is that?
Number 1.
Okay.
How
And
does
then
she
I heard one more
know?
after that. And they're like, that's enough. Let's go.
Okay. And again, that's number 1.
Yes.
So what do you hear next after you hear the scrambling? They're gone. Because you're hearing no more. I gather that's how you assume they're gone, is because you don't hear it. Then you hear your dad.
I reached for my phone at
Okay.
that point.
And you call 911. Okay. When your father exits, you hear the door open. Because you hear your dog, and then you
And then
see.
I can hear like the outside noises.
Okay.
Like the wind coming in, and I just hear my dad, I think he's...
Jesus.
You think that he's sustained some kind of injury because he's not. You can't understand what he's saying. Okay. What about can you hear your mom? Okay.
How?
Where does your dad go? Do you know where? You never see your dad again until when we're at the hospital. I think that's what you said, right?
I saw him when he was on the gurney.
Is there any reason to suspect, or anything that's happened in the recent weeks leading up, that would have you guys be a target of some type of incident like this?
We live a straightforward, kind of almost routine life.
Whenever Jennifer smiles, it takes her a couple seconds to realize she's not exhibiting the correct behavior, and she then snaps back into her solemn stare. The two looks are so diametrically opposed to each other that it becomes glaringly obvious she's forcing one of the emotions.
What, in your opinion, would cause people to target your house to think there was a large quantity of money?
I'm not sure.
Now, you say your mom drives a Lexus.
It could be because of the aesthetics, yes.
What about your dad?
He drives a Mercedes and he loves that baby.
Is that right?
The questions end here, and the detective leaves the room for half an hour to
What?
double-check if he needs any more information. After 15 minutes of Jennifer waiting alone, we're gifted with another performance of the startle reflex, only this time it's slightly less convincing. If investigators were certain of Jennifer's innocence, this would have been the first and last time she would have been questioned in such a manner. Police are extremely careful in how they involve victims in investigations as to not cause further unnecessary trauma. But on this particular occasion, it would come as no surprise that Jennifer's psychological well-being was of less concern. She was officially still a victim and witness, but unofficially a leading suspect. She was called back in to give another statement just 2 days later at 9 a.m. She was told the reason was to collect more details, but you'll notice that the line of questioning and the answers they attain have little to no use for anything outside of Jennifer's culpability. The actual reason for this second statement is to collect further information to use against her at a later stage. In this interview alone, they already start the process of cross-examination and start to catch her out in previous lies. Jennifer is still a witness at this moment, and the exchange is void of any direct confrontation. Yet she is still put under a modest amount of pressure, and the holes in her story start to become ever more apparent.
Uh-oh.
Take that first interview that we had, which was, hours after what had transpired, put it aside. It's almost like we've never spoken before, okay? So we're starting afresh. We're starting from new. That way you're not going to say, I think I already told him that. Don't worry about what you've already told me.
Do you, Jennifer Penn, swear or declare that the evidence that you give in this investigation shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
We're going to see if we've learned or if you've remembered anything else. And there's some questions with respect to that statement that I'm going to ask you about, okay? But I'm going to let you start again, and let's move forward from any time in that day where you want to start. If it's the time you woke up or if it's the time that your first interaction, it's your choice.
Okay, I'm very nervous, and
Why are you nervous?
Why are you
Tell me about why you're nervous.
because I don't want to say the wrong things.
Because
that day was a lot.
You're right.
And I've been scattered, and so bits and pieces are here and some pieces aren't here, and I'm just...
So, I want you to sit back in your chair, okay? Just sit back in your chair, take a deep breath, okay? Close your eyes, just follow my line, just sit back in the chair for a second, sit back, relax, the best you can, close your eyes, and just breathe for a minute, okay?
She doesn't look very relaxed. Okay, gotta get my story
The most curious
straight.
detail you've probably come to notice is this. It's known as a self-pacifying gesture. A person who does this is most often uncomfortable and sometimes fearful of what lies ahead. It's a coping mechanism to dissipate stress and afford self-assurance.
What I can remember is when I woke up, I had some breakfast.
She practices on the piano, studies piano history, plays games on her phone, and speaks with her friends on Facebook during the morning hours. Her mom leaves to visit her grandfather at around noon and returns at 3 p.m. to prepare dinner. Her father comes home at around 4:30 from work, and dinner is served 1 hour later. Her mother leaves for line dancing at 7, then returns at 9:30. Jennifer at this point is in bed talking with her friend on the phone, and her father is in the computer room. She then hears her mother loudly call out to her father.
What is she saying?
She's calling him by his name and to come down.
Okay, so give us verbatim, what do you hear her saying?
In Vietnamese, she's like, Hanoi, xuống đây.
She's clearly aware that she has to appear mournful over the subject matter, and sensibly draws out this emotion at the correct moments. Yet what's fascinating is how she's unable to maintain this emotion when inquired over the same elements. In this very moment, she appears completely grief-stricken, but when the investigator inquires further, this supposed grief rapidly dissipates. It's extremely difficult to convincingly act out an emotion while evaluating a question. It requires two completely different parts of the brain, which is why most people can only do one of these things at a time. This is exactly what you see in the next moment, and continuously throughout this interview.
And what does that translate to?
Can't multitask.
That's my father's name, Han. Come down here.
Does she say anything else associated with that?
I can't hear clearly because, like, I was on the phone and the TV was on,
Sure.
but that's what I heard.
Is she yelling? Or is it normal?
It's a loud, she's not yelling, but it's a loud tone.
Okay.
She then hangs up the phone with her friend once she hears the commotion.
As I'm hanging up the phone with him, I hear footsteps going up the stairs.
Okay.
But they're heavier footsteps than what is to be expected.
Plus
from my
one, minus one. Plus
Okay.
one,
Jennifer
minus one.
hears unfamiliar voices, so she opens her door to investigate. She has spoken for 2 minutes up to this point without being interrupted, and once again manages to build up her emotion to correlate with a supposedly terrifying event. Yet as soon as the detective interjects with a question, we once again see this emotion dissipate.
I peered out, and there was a person in what would have been my brother's room.
And where's your brother's room located?
Just a little bit down the, I could see from my doorway to his doorway, just a little bit down the hall.
Okay.
The first intruder then robs Jennifer at gunpoint before taking her to the ground floor, where she then sees her parents sitting next to each other.
From where I was standing, my father was sitting on the right, and my mother was sitting on the left.
Sitting where?
On a couch, on our couch.
Sitting on the couch. Are they looking out towards you?
No, their backs are towards me.
Okay. And you're now on the ground level? Are you on the floor? Or on the sitting on the
floor. I'm sitting on the floor.
All right, where are your hands?
They had tied my hands,
So let's
as
go.
I said.
Let's go back up to the stairs. Remember we said
Her emotional display in seeing her parents in distress gradually faded after each interjection, but you'll now see it completely cease altogether once she realizes that she made her first mistake. Everything she had said up to this point correlated with her initial statement, but she had just forgot to mention that she was first tied up before being taken downstairs, and only brought it up when reminded by the detective.
take the other statement and whatever we've said before.
No, I said it earlier.
She didn't say she was tied up earlier. She completely forgot to mention it and seems to be trying to convince the detective otherwise. It's a moment of slight panic, which becomes far more pronounced when you compare it to her supposed grief-stricken recollection 5 seconds earlier. The detective doesn't...
Wait, this is what I hear. My cam's covering it. Fake sorrow, genuine panic. Dude, they can read these people like books.
challenge this, as it can be used against her at a much later stage, and the main objective at this point is to collect as much conflicting information as possible.
Okay, then we must let's get back to that area. I think you might have touched on it. We went back into the description. So where do you get your hands tied, and where does the string come from?
I'm not sure where the string comes from, but he had the string.
Okay.
And after I gave him my money, that's when he tied my hands.
She is then taken downstairs, where she sees her mother being interrogated by the second assailant over the whereabouts of the cash. According to her first statement, the second assailant never said a word the entire time.
He had pushed her back onto the couch, and she
Who
kept...
pushed her?
Number 2.
Okay.
He was pushing her back onto the couch.
No, you fucked up.
She kept saying, "Where's my purse? Where's my purse?" And the guy kept telling her to sit down, and I didn't want my mom to get hurt.
How many times does she get up and get pushed back down?
I'd say she got up twice.
Has number 2 uttered a word at this point in time?
I can't remember hearing him.
Okay. So we're just correcting what you said earlier, because you said earlier that it was number 2 who was asking where the purse is, what the purse is, and now you've said now it's number 1 guy who would initially...
I'm sorry, it's just...
No. It's all a purpose. The purpose here is clarifying what you're saying. So number 1 is...
I just don't want to...
Number 1 is the one who's doing the talking about the purse. Number 3 is focused on your dad's wallet. Okay.
Jennifer continues to make contradictions and is forced to correct herself multiple times after she notices the puzzled gaze from the detective. He inquires over the appearance of assailant number 2, who is wearing a hoodie according to the first statement.
Do you get a good look at number 2 now of what he's wearing?
All I could tell was he had a vest, and his face was like a long oval face.
He had a vest?
No, hoodie.
Okay.
Dark hoodie.
Okay. Did you see them recover anything inside your mom and dad's room?
Oh, shit.
I did not see anything, no.
Are you sure? Because when we spoke the last time, there was some mention of some other money that went missing.
I believe when they were looking for my father's wallet, they had opened the drawer. And there was, it was in an envelope.
What drawer would that have been in?
if you're at the doorway where I was standing on the left side, the bedside table.
Whose side of the bed is it?
That's my mother's side of the bed.
Okay.
More than likely a total coincidence, yet she almost appears to be praying that she gave the correct response. Fortunately for her, she was correct on this occasion.
And approximately how much money?
I'm not sure how much she took out for our trip, but I can only estimate about a few $100s.
Few hundred, because at the time, the last time you told me, you were pretty adamant about $1,100. So I'm curious to know how you came up with that number.
I believe because when we were at the border, we stopped at the duty free. My mother was deciding whether to use her U.S. currency or her U.S. currency or her Canadian currency.
So it was at that time you remember hearing $1,100, and is that the inference you're saying? Is that because you're pretty solid saying that it was $1,100 that went missing, that was taken, and that you saw it when we spoke, and who took it? Who took possession of the money?
I'm sorry.
It's all right.
The detective lets the contradiction slide once more. Jennifer is then brought to the moment where the intruders had just left and she is tied to the upstairs banister.
Let's come back to now. You're being taken to the banister in the upper room. Don't apologize, okay? I'm going to try and ask you questions to try and clarify points, okay? If you don't remember, you don't remember. Okay, so there's no apologizing. The only reason you would apologize to me is if you've lied to me.
No.
Okay,
No,
so then in this case, then don't apologize to me. It's okay. Okay, I'm going to ask you questions to clarify points.
Okay.
You're now bound to the
Oh
railing.
God, here we go.
Can you show me? Can you stand up and turn around and tell me? Just show on the camera how your hands are bound and how you are against the railing. You don't have to sit down. I just need to see how you were.
She's so afraid of making a mistake.
The only reason that I'm trying to, I need to do this is that I'm also going to ask you.
So afraid.
So take this back take it out of a traumatizing event, which it is, and put yourself into a more clinical position, because I want to see how you could physically get your phone out of your waistband.
Me
We're obviously going to need to
too.
know that. It's very important. So traumatize away. Now put yourself into just a state of, I need to mechanically show how I can get access to my phone. Okay, because that's obviously very relevant. We know you made the phone call, but questions are going to obviously raise is that if my hands are bound and I'm against the railing, how do I talk to a 911 operator? Okay,
Yeah.
so clinically, this is now a clinical demonstration.
Bro, I can't.
Just stand up, focus in on how you did it.
I would be such an asshole and detective.
And
I
want
think.
you to stick
Oh
that
my
in your
God.
waistband as an example. Okay, so take your sweat off, because this will
I would
be
have
a
no
very
patience with
smooth,
these
very
people.
quick thing. It's a one-time demonstration. I'm not going to ask you to repeat it.
The two critical parts of this demonstration are where Jennifer states she was tied and the movement of her arms as she takes her phone out of her pocket. The investigator is hoping the mechanics of the two components would be illogical and contradict each other.
They tied my upper arm
Yes?
around the banister,
Yes?
but my hands were bound together.
So your hands bound together, and this is the arm that's the strings wrapped around against the banister? Okay, so now how can you get to the phone? And how do you make the phone call?
Whether it be a stroke of luck or that Jennifer had prepared for this moment,
Okay, I'm gonna show it because I was blocking it.
One-time demonstration. I'm not going to ask you to repeat it.
takes her phone out of her pocket. The investigator is hoping the mechanics of the two
She actually did a good
components would
job
be
here.
illogical and
I'm actually
contradict each other.
impressed.
They tied my upper arm
Yes?
around the banister,
Yes?
but my hands were bound together.
So your hands bound together, and this is the arm that's the strings wrapped around against the banister? Okay, so now how can you get to the phone? And how do you make the phone call?
Whether it be a stroke of luck or that Jennifer had prepared for this moment, this actually made sense.
Yeah, it
Had
did.
her arms gone left or the point of restraint been below the elbow, none of this would have been possible. It's perhaps
I
the
wonder if
single
she
moment
just
where Jennifer's
winged
statement
it.
was somewhat beneficial to her defense. We know Jennifer was tied up when police arrived, but the assumption was that she had her phone in her hands the entire time and wouldn't have had to retrieve it from her waistband. She can now argue that this portion of her testimony is genuine.
911? And do you talk down like that?
Yes, I'm yelling at the phone like this.
And how can you hear?
I turned the volume on max.
Yes? So that's exactly the way that you're talking to her against the railing. Okay, that's good enough. Sit down.
Jennifer is then brought back to the
Wow.
moment just before she heard the gunshots.
At this point, I started hearing my parents get up. And they're moving. And my
Oh,
mom's
God.
yelling, "Where's my daughter? I want my daughter. Where's my daughter?" And I'm yelling, "Mom, I'm here."
Here.
It-
Jennifer,
I
take
think
a
she's
Kleenex
sad out of pure guilt.
and just
Wait, do you
Take
think
a
she's
minute.
guilty? Like, feels guilty for
You'll
what she
notice
did?
that she doesn't wipe her eyes or blow her nose, just buries her face in the tissue, which the detective later testified remained completely dry.
Oh.
okay.
Oh.
So we're now down in the basement. They're down in the your parents are down in the basement.
I heard pop. And then my mom,
-1.
I heard her squeal.
Multiple pops occur thereafter before she hears the intruders leave through the front door.
Once the door closed, I heard my father. He ran up the stairs and all I could hear was moaning. Dad. Once I heard him starting to move, that's when I pulled out the phone and I was trying to call 911.
This is untrue. She only realized her father was alive midway through the 911 call. And in that exact moment, you can actually hear genuine fear in her voice compared to her fabricated panic the moment before.
Some people broke into our house and paid us all his money. And I came to my parents yelling downstairs. Okay, ma'am, where are you? What? Avenue Road. Yes. Can you spell the street name for me, please? Dad? Ma'am.
The final part of this
Oh,
statement
it's so
is
hard to
collecting
listen to.
information to set up the main strategy for Jennifer's interrogation that will take place 10 days later. They go through Jennifer's past and gather intel to lay the foundation for what's known as the how and why solution, which will be explained in further detail at a later stage.
What I want to do now is I want to go into your past, okay? And start talking about things that have been going on with you.
The detective now morphs into a therapist, and what's fascinating is how Jennifer doesn't once question the new line of inquisition. Many argue that it was the first time Jennifer was even asked about such matters, giving reason for her willingness to open up. This may have been the first time in her life she was able to process her frustrations and vent to someone who appeared to care. The first topic is her parents, and the expectations and pressures she was under to succeed, which led to her faking her grades and then her college degree as to not be a disappointment.
How did you feel about that? How did you feel about having to lie to your parents?
I felt guilty, but every time I tried to bring it up, there was just so much expectation.
Did you have any resentment towards them for this?
I chose what I chose, but in the end, I chose my family.
She just referred to the ultimatum she was given by her father. The choice to live at home and go back to school, or be completely cut off by her parents and live with her boyfriend. Information gathering on Jennifer's past goes on for roughly 2 hours and 20 minutes.
Wow.
The detective then ends the exchange by putting her under some pressure. It's not a direct confrontation, but it's by far the most uncomfortable position she's been in up to this point. The detective subtly switches back to the home invasion and how the intruders were able to gain access without breaking in.
Like you didn't hear a doorbell, you didn't hear a door knock, you didn't hear a door kicked in, you didn't.
I was watching
No,
TV on the phone.
but-
I don't know how.
Yeah, I know. We went over that back and forth. We don't know how. So somehow they got into your house by getting through your mom down on the lower level, right? Because she's the only one who's down
She
there.
was the only one down there.
So it's very confusing. Generally, random events are not, in most cases, random. There's a rhyme or reason why they've come to your house. But from what you've told me inside the house, the only thing that you hear them saying to you is they're looking for money. They're not looking for a specific quantity of money?
No.
So you're telling me that you had no involvement in what happened, meaning not saying how the outcome came, but you had no involvement in any type of illegal activity that would have drawn you or the attention of you to have bad people come to your house looking for large sums of money. You're not involved in this any which way. Because the question obviously stands, Jennifer, is you're upstairs and they're downstairs. Right? So it's a natural concern why would they leave you alone? Why would they not do the same to you?
Yeah. Why did they let her live, huh? Make sense of that!
You can't answer that question?
Answer it!
The only thing I can say is he said I cooperated.
The,
But I asked him
Not good
to take
enough.
me.
the number
With
one
my
guy?
mom.
The number one guy said you cooperated. Okay. Who's to say this whole thing isn't a lie? That what you're telling me is a lie? Because if you are lying, it's the most cold-blooded thing that I have ever faced in my life.
Get her out
There's
of my
nothing that you've
sight!
said to me today is a lie.
Say it
Now-
out loud, bitch! She can't even
That's
say
another
it!
very difficult
Okay,
question.
okay, calm down.
But if I don't ask it, I'm going to be. It's an obvious one. The resentment that you may have had towards your parents for the interference in your relationship and your life, and essentially locking you down in your house.
At the end of the day, I love my parents and I chose to be with them. And if I wanted to, I could have just left, but I didn't. I wanted to stay with them and take care of them.
You chose to get them murdered.
So this wasn't some evil plot that you thought up to.
Oh my god, no.
No interaction,
Disgusting.
no belief, no. You didn't have anything to do with this thing at all whatsoever. You don't engage in illegal activity.
No.
Because you know that it'll be very easily. It will be a very easy thing to discredit you on, right? We're in the process of trying to add credibility to
Liar.
what you tell us, and that's through the process of asking people and doing whatever. Through that same process, it will be very easy to find the flaws in what you've said, which again
We
then
found a
turns
lot,
the focus back
honestly.
to you. Okay,
I don't.
it's a natural progress. It's a natural thing that investigators do. We eliminate people, or we draw our attention to them. It's a natural thing. It's not brain surgery. Okay.
The detective leaves the room for 20 minutes to allow Jennifer to stew in her own thoughts before they end the statement. He comes back to add one
Stew.
last bit of psychological pressure that he carefully disguises as reassurance.
Pressure her.
Jennifer will leave terrified, but still believe the police are on her side.
Okay,
Wait, really?
we're done essentially. How you feeling?
Sorry, you really scared me.
Did I? What did I scare you about? Sit down and take a load off. Tell me how you're feeling, and how I scared you. I don't want you walking away from here thinking I'm evil. I want you to walking around from here thinking that this guy is helping investigate my mom's murder, and he's going to turn over every stone possible to make sure that we catch the
Every
people who do it.
stone.
That's what I want you feeling. So I don't want you walking away from here thinking that I scared you, or I'm a bad man. Sometimes we have to ask very, very difficult questions, but it's my job. Okay? You're our only link. You're it. Until your dad regains his back and being able to be spoken to, right now you're our only link to this case.
Her father had bullet fragments lodged in his face that doctors couldn't remove, and a shattered neck bone. At the time of this interview, the consensus was that if he did regain consciousness, he would be useless as a witness due to irreversible brain damage.
Oh my
So
god.
we may rely on you heavily until we can speak to your father.
Wait, he lived?
Okay? So don't be afraid. If you've told the truth,
Ooh.
the last thing you should be afraid of is anything. If you've told the truth and you've been truthful through this whole process, then you're helping. You're doing your part. Okay? And don't be afraid of me.
I'm just afraid because, you know, like, I know everything is just all pointing negatively right now, and I don't understand why.
Because
I feel that, like, the way you're speaking to me, it's kind of like...
You're a bad liar.
I know you said that you had to say those things, but it's here, and I've already said it to the special victims yesterday, but there's, like, ideas in my head.
Yeah.
And I'm afraid to say it out loud. But...
Ideas about speculation of what happened? How it happened? Unfortunately, at times some of us have to point the finger, or seem like we're pointing the finger, and it really is just to provoke you to see what you're going to do, how you're going to respond. Okay? So, it's only a question, and it's been answered, and if you've been truthful, okay, you have nothing to fear. Absolutely nothing.
Yeah, why are you so scared, huh?
Police kept Jennifer under close observation from this point forward. A surveillance detail was assigned to track her every movement, and she was even monitored at her mother's funeral 3 days later. According to reports, she was emotionless the majority of the time, only showing what appeared to be feigned grief at certain moments. She never shed a single tear, and kept her eyes to the floor or completely shut for the entirety of the service. Jennifer's father had in fact awoken from his induced coma the day prior, and miraculously seemed to remember everything from the night of the incident. He would give an official statement in secret on November 16th, and multiple parts of his story contradicted what Jennifer had told police. The most significant detail was that she was never tied up, but instead walking around freely and talking with the intruders as if they were friends. He actually spoke with Jennifer over the phone, but was informed by investigators to act amnesic and not to confront her, only to ask her if she thought her ex-boyfriend was behind it. She stated that she was almost certain he wasn't. The only issue with Hahn's statement was that he had suffered minor brain damage from the gunshot, which could be used by a defense team to refute his testimony in court, or even get it thrown out altogether. Furthermore, it was essentially his word against Jennifer's, and their turbulent relationship would also work greatly in the defense's favor. York Regional Police knew they needed a confession for the best possible chance at securing a conviction, so they assigned their most experienced investigator to conduct Jennifer's interrogation. She was called back into the Markham Police Station on the 22nd of November at 2:30 p.m., a week and a half after the incident took place.
So just for the record, it is the 22nd of November 2010. We're at the 5 District Station in the town of Markham. My computer right now says 2:39
Can't believe her father lived
in the afternoon.
And remembered.
Okay. Just for the record, my name is Detective William Gates.
Hi,
You can
William.
call me Bill here today. And what do you like to be
Bill.
called?
Jen,
Jen? Yep. What do you prefer, Jen or Jennifer?
Doesn't
Either are? Okay, so Jen, you're aware that the audio tape and everything's on. It's the same as last time. Okay, you've been here on 2 other occasions, I understand. On the 9th of November, and I believe again on the 11th of November. Is that correct? Okay. And do you know why we're here today?
Boy.
just to discuss stuff.
Yeah, regarding what?
Your crime. Your crime!
So what happened at my home?
Okay. And as a result of that home invasion, your father and Pam was actually shot, and your mother, Vicka, and was actually killed. Is that correct? Yeah, you'll have to speak up a little bit just so I can hear you.
Sorry, yes.
Okay.
What's unique about this interrogator is how he immediately adopts a no-nonsense approach, yet manages to build rapport and remain sympathetic at the same time.
Yeah.
You'll see that he has far less patience compared to the previous investigator, yet seems to create a stronger connection with the suspect. It's a hard thing to
True.
explain, but easily observed as you'll soon find out.
Dude,
so
that's
that's what we're going
talent.
to discuss here today.
Jennifer this time around has read her rights to silence rather than her rights as a witness. If she knew anything about the law in Canada, she would be wise to the fact that she is now a suspect. Fortunately for the investigator, she remains completely naive to the situation throughout the opening phase of the interrogation, making her far more susceptible to the strategy he is about to employ.
Okay, just hold on a second. Okay, we're having technical difficulties here. Okay, so that's why they interrupted me. What we're going to do is, if you don't mind holding tight there, I'm just going to move my equipment to the other room. Okay, and then I'll come over and we'll move over there next door. Okay.
I'm just not comfortable being alone.
Okay, I'm going to be right here though. Okay.
With respect to interrogations, it's common knowledge that the psychological manipulation begins before a single word is spoken. The physical layout of the room is designed to accelerate the sense of discomfort and isolation, and it's fascinating to observe how each interrogator has their own unique methods of setting the tone. Knowing how this interrogation plays out allows us to realize this detective's procedure. The considerable distance between him and the suspect will keep her relaxed enough to be influenced by phase 1, but this same distance will intensify the pressure once he eventually closes it during phase 2. You'll notice this detective is slow with his first strategy, but swift with the second. He takes his time in building trust and establishing rapport, yet once this initial connection is secured, the transition to aggression will be abrupt and ever increasing from that point forward.
Oh, let's
Jennifer
go!
takes a seat in the room 15 minutes since she was first informed of her rights. It's important to note that she is still free to leave at any time at this point. She is unknowingly a suspect, but not under arrest.
Why don't people leave when they're...
So just for the record, this room is being videotaped and audio taped, just like the other one, okay? And I'm just going to grab my chair from across the way, okay? Okay.
The detective goes through Jennifer's history of teaching piano and her earlier years of high-level figure skating, which was cut short due to injury.
If you didn't get injured, would you still be doing it? Yeah. Okay. So that's nice. And did you, as far as that, did you do like competition skating or? Okay. And how did you do with that?
I wasn't at the top of the pack, but just the middle average.
Yeah, so that's good though. But you did actually enjoy it. It was more than just going for competition. You enjoyed actually doing it.
I was petrified of the competition.
Okay. All right. Do you have any students right now? Or?
No.
Okay. And why not?
The students I were teaching, they went to high school and lost interest.
Oh, okay. Yeah, too big for piano. Yeah, I took it in grade school too, but I think I went to grade 7 in it, I think. Like when I was in grade 7, I stopped taking it, but I still remember Swans on the Lake. I didn't know how to play that, that's about it.
The detective then goes through Jennifer's work history as a server before touching on her future plans in education. Jennifer mentions that she plans to go by her parents' wishes and pursue a career in healthcare, at which point the primary strategy is initiated: the how and why solution. The detective gradually begins to shift the blame away from the suspect and onto another set of circumstances that prompted the suspect to commit the crime. He starts developing a theme that will afford her a psychological justification in doing it, and this theme will be further established as the interrogation progresses. It starts off subtle so that she remains oblivious to the agenda.
Now, if you could pick any job yourself, I'm not talking about anybody else, but if you could pick for yourself, what would it be?
I'm going to be a piano teacher when I come home. But in the daytime, I'd like to have a simple, maybe like a lab technician job, just work 8 hours a day, and come home and teach piano.
Okay.
This is an answer the detective was hoping for. Jennifer's preferred career choice is at odds with what her parents wanted, so he now builds on the concept of the overly controlling parent and the unfair limitations it causes the child. He then links this concept with the subject of Jennifer's boyfriend and how she was kept from seeing him.
Now, eventually you were discussing Daniel. What happened with that relationship?
I hid it from my parents at first. They didn't agree with me having a boyfriend.
Okay.
And once they found out, they didn't like the fact that he was of mixed race.
Okay.
And they told me to stop seeing him.
Okay.
And you didn't like
And
that,
how
did
did
you?
that make you feel?
How did it make you feel, Jennifer? Just what, Jennifer?
He was the person who just filled an empty void.
Oh, he filled a void in you, huh? So very important, huh?
When you broke up, you felt the part was missing? Is that what you're saying?
When they first told me to stop seeing him, stop talking to him, I felt like a part of me was missing, and I fell into a little bit of depression.
Okay. How did they find out?
One day when my mother came to pick me up, she saw me he had dropped me off.
Okay. Dropped you off.
At Pacific Mall, and my mother was coming to pick me up from Pacific Mall.
Okay. And somehow they saw each other, I guess?
Oh, my mother saw me hugging, kissing goodbye.
Okay. That gave it away. What happened next then?
I tried to bring him home. My mother at first was like, bring him home, let us meet him. When I brought him home, they automatically didn't like him for some reason.
Okay.
And that's when they told me to stop seeing him.
Okay. So you were told to stop seeing him. So what happened then?
At first, I stopped for a while. But like I said, I just felt really empty, and I felt depression, and
okay.
I started talking to him again.
Jennifer then goes on to explain in further detail how she carried on
Okay, I'm gonna be honest. Listen, chat, we're psychoanalyzing a murderer that killed her parents, and it's kind of weird that you guys are spamming that I'm pretty. I feel like it's a little, not the place and the time to be talking about my appearance. But I understand the intention, but that's a little weird timing, isn't it? It's kind of weird. And it's kind of weird. So, yeah, maybe we could, I don't know, focus more on the this. I don't know. Okay.
the relationship in secret and how it became more and more of a struggle hiding.
I appreciate it, but what the fuck?
How was Daniel taking it when your parents said that you couldn't see him anymore? How did he take it?
He was hurt.
Yeah. And how did you feel?
Also hurt.
Also hurt. Okay.
Yeah.
She then goes on
You
to
wanted
explain
revenge.
that she was living with Daniel at his parents' house for 2 years, while her own parents thought she was studying at a university.
And his parents were, I guess, more liberal than your parents.
His parents, they loved me.
Yeah. Okay. And they recognized that you loved each other.
Jennifer recounts how she bought a fake diploma for $500 to show her parents, and the many other avenues she went down to keep the lie going. She eventually gets to the day she was found out.
How did you end up back home again?
I hope she realizes this is building a case against her.
Called up my friend, who I said I was staying with, in the middle of the night, and she was groggy and forgot what day it was, and so she's like, isn't she home? And I wasn't home.
Okay. She messed up.
I don't blame her a bit.
No. Okay.
Jennifer then goes on to explain the ultimatum she was given and the restrictive measures that were put in place so that she wouldn't be able to see her boyfriend.
So how has that felt, being under those guidelines for the last 18 months?
It was okay, it wasn't the best feeling in the world, because, I just felt like trapped.
Okay.
But it's what I chose to be with my family.
Okay. And so you made a choice between what?
Living out on my own with Daniel and staying home with my parents.
Did you feel you really had a choice or not?
There was no choice because family always comes first.
Okay.
Hmm.
And where do you get that from? Where do you get that belief? Okay. So family's number one?
Yes.
The detective then brings up Jennifer's earlier assertion of being depressed and then affiliates it with the restrictive measures she was living under.
What was the worst the depression got?
I cut myself.
Okay. And when did that happen? Where did you cut?
On my wrist, and once people started noticing, I'd hide it other places, but
Okay.
never twice in the same spot.
So how many cuts do you have
Ow.
on you?
Now, none.
None? They've healed? Okay. And did you want to kill yourself?
Yes.
Jennifer asserts that she tried to kill herself when she was 19 by overdosing on sleeping tablets. She also states that her self-harm was a distractor from the pain and frustrations she was going through.
Did you ever feel that they expected too much of you? How so?
Comparisons to other people.
Aww.
Okay. So who would they compare you to?
Like classmates, clubmates, cousins.
Okay. And so some of them have been successful recently?
Yeah, her foot's wildin'.
Okay. And what did they say to you?
Is that Morse code? With their foot?
Okay, so that's pretty hard, right? Hard to take for you?
What I've heard all my life. Nothing.
Okay. Did you ever feel like, I know you're smart and they believe you're very smart, but did you ever
Girl,
feel you weren't as smart?
she
as
built
they
a
thought
case
they
against
did?
her by admitting all of the
I get that
things.
feeling.
Like,
Yeah.
there's clearly resentment and
Pretty
reasoning.
tough to live up to their expectations. Okay, like
Idiot.
your dad ultimately would like to see you be like a doctor. Those were pretty high standards. for
Yeah. High
anybody.
standards, huh?
Not everybody can be a doctor.
Nope, not everyone.
Okay, but they may have acted like you could have done it no problem. Their expectations were so high that few people would be able to reach that expectation. I'm not just talking about you, I'm talking about anybody. And it started at a young age.
Oh, God.
The detective further explores the stresses of living with overly strict parents, and Jennifer explains in
Yeah,
further
she's
detail
nervous
the
'cause
way
she's a
she would
criminal.
cope, which for the most part was
She's
lying about
guilty.
her grades and living a double life with her boyfriend.
How did it feel having to lie to them all those years?
Really hard.
Yeah, so you didn't want to lie to them anymore, huh? You took them out!
They always look down and disappointment.
I'm sure there were days when you actually planned that this is the day I'm going to tell them, and then you just couldn't spit it out.
The opening
Couldn't spit it
strategy of
out.
the how and why solution has now been executed. A connection has been attained, and the desired narrative established. The next phase of the interrogation is about to commence, which is first set up by a two-step strategy. Step 1 is to induce fatigue. Step 2 is to induce fear.
It's time.
Now, when's the last time you spoke to your dad?
This morning just to see if my brother had made it into school.
And what have you and your father discussed about this case?
He just asked me if Daniel was behind it.
Okay.
And I told him I don't know 100%, but I don't think he did.
Okay. Why would he ask that?
Because he believes that we still talk and that he would go to any length to be with me.
Oh my
What do you
God.
think about that?
What do you think about that?
I know that he's moved on, so I don't think he would go to these lengths to be with me when he's already moved on.
The detective has
They're
Jennifer
still
go through the
dating.
entire incident once more, but unlike the first investigator, offers no reassurance nor consolation. Jennifer starts fake crying again, yet this time is given no tissues to wipe away her
No
non-existent
tissues!
tears.
Bitch.
Now, do you think there's any reason why they tied you up and didn't tie your parents up?
What? Why? Huh? Why? Huh? Why? Huh? Why? Huh? You know.
Does
You
that
know
seem
why.
odd to you? Why does it seem odd?
Because I was away up here separated from him the whole time.
And does it make sense that they would leave a witness behind
That doesn't make sense.
if they were going to kill somebody? Does that make sense?
It doesn't make sense.
I guess
Just
No,
thinking
make it
about
make sense.
But it makes sense for somebody that was going to kill somebody to leave a witness behind that could describe them. Does that make common sense for killers?
it's not.
It doesn't. What do you mean you guess? It doesn't.
What do you think?
Mhm.
Do you think that was a mistake they made then?
I don't know. They kept saying that they were running out of time, and it just.
It doesn't take a long time.
It doesn't
to kill
take
somebody.
time to kill you, does
I
it?
don't know.
Jennifer's
Oh my
dramatics
God.
intensify as the discussion of the home invasion continues. She's trying to give off the nonverbal cue that she wants to move past the incident. The detective doesn't respond, but continues to go over the different stages of the night in more detail. He jumps from the beginning to the end, to the middle, back to the end, and then back to the beginning again. None of this is for the purpose of information
track
gathering.
star.
He is
Let's go.
inducing mental fatigue as to diminish Jennifer's critical thinking. This is often done before
They've
a
been in
direct
there for almost 2
confrontation,
hours.
as it can diminish the suspect's ability to consider the long-term consequences of a decision. Jennifer will get stressed and tired, not because she is traumatized by the event being recited, but because it's exhausting keeping up such an act when it's not genuine. And this performance eventually starts to dwindle and
or the
becomes gradually
chillness
less
for
convincing.
people that murder
How
their
did
parents.
the conversation end with Dad?
I heard my mother calling for my father.
Okay.
She's a liar.
And then what?
She's a terrible person.
Okay.
Yes, we're doing it. Okay. Okay.
When you went
mean
to
chill,
bed,
like
was your mom
no
home
more
yet?
yelling. Okay, I got you. I got you.
Home, and I went down. I told Ed I'd be right back, and I went down. I said hi to her, and I went back up to my room.
Okay. Were you injured at all during the whole process?
Not really.
Okay. Not really anything?
Step 2 of the confrontation setup will now commence. The detective employs
It's
what is
fear
known
time.
as the futility technique. He will tell Jennifer that he has an abundance of resources at his disposal, and even fabricate much of what he asserts. He's indirectly telling the suspect it is useless to resist due to the overwhelming evidence against her.
Now,
It's time.
the reason why I'm here today, okay, is that I'm an expert, okay,
He's really
in
good.
what we call truth verification. I talk to thousands of people, okay, and I
Very social.
basically know when somebody's not being straightforward with me, okay. I can tell by the language they use, how they answer the questions, their body language, how they treat the question, that something's wrong here, okay. This doesn't make sense.
The detective then gives Jennifer an 8-minute narrative on police tactics and forensic technology, some of which is embellished, but for the most part true. He then asserts that police are able to use infrared satellite imagery to see the occupants inside a household. This is entirely false.
She was playing with her hair
And
that whole time.
basically, if people are moving around in a house, it's like an x-ray, okay? And basically we're able to tell, you know, are those movements, are those actions, that number of people consistent with the story that we've been told? Are the people in the positions that the witnesses are telling us they were in? Or are they different? Okay, and if they're different, why are they different is what our question becomes, right? And so at the end of the day, okay, there's so many resources available to me that at the end of the day, I'm going to know if a person's telling me the truth or not.
The detective is now about to initiate the confrontation, but first brings the entire setup full circle by reestablishing the notions of reasoning and rationale. The suspect is fatigued and scared, but still needs to feel the detective is on her side.
Now, I can tell you that nothing surprises me in this job, okay?
Desensitized.
I am well aware that anybody on this earth is capable of making a mistake. Okay? I don't care who they are. I don't care if they're a priest. I don't care if they're a school teacher. I don't care what the situation is. Given a certain set of circumstances, everyone has the capability, Jennifer, of making a mistake. Doing the wrong thing.
This wasn't a mistake, though. It was planned.
The key, though, when I talk to people is when they made a mistake, okay, that's one thing, right? The key is to not keep making the same mistake. And to get that information out and get it off your chest. Okay? You understand what I'm saying?
Get it off your chest.
At the end of the day, from this case, and I can tell you I've spent literally a week on this case, going over information after information, accessing all these sources, speaking to every other expert on the case. And at this point, Jennifer, I know that you've not been truthful with the police.
Ooh!
Okay? You've
Oh
not
my
told
God.
us everything that you know, purposely. You've spent
Closes
a
distance. It's
considerable
time.
amount of time in the last 7 years telling half-truths. And I can understand why, okay?
Wait, it's
You've
taken
had
him
a tough
7
life.
years to get this point?
What's happened to me, equates to abuse. And all the stresses that you've had and forced to lie, I can understand why you did it. Okay?
This guy's
But you're in
good.
another situation here where you're under another tremendous amount of stress. And it doesn't feel good inside, does it? It breaks down the person that you are. Because at the end of the day, you're a good person. I know that. You've got a good heart. In this case, though, you've made mistakes.
I don't know about that
Okay?
one.
And you're involved in this. I know that. Okay? There's no question about it. The only question
But he's
right
telling
now
her what she needs to
is, are
hear.
you going to keep making mistakes? Are you going to go on the route that you've gone on over the years and try to pretend that things happen that never happened? Okay? Are you going to not face reality here? We know that you're involved. We've done our homework.
Oh, 7 years
okay?
living at home. Gotcha.
We have to resolve that now here today.
Okay.
I need to know from you what really happened. And I know why this has happened. You have spent your whole life trying to live up to expectations that you can't meet, okay? And that stress the hell out of you. You're a 24-year-old woman being treated like a 15-year-old,
Wow.
okay? You've never done anything that terrible in your life, but
24.
you're being treated like you have.
Wow.
You're not being treated like the adult that you are. Yes, you made some mistakes. Big deal. You're not the first person that has gone out and not told their parents that they're dating a guy, because in your culture, they don't accept it. I understand that. I've talked to people in here that have kept that secret for their whole life from their parents. Okay, so that's not abnormal, but that puts a lot of stress on you, right?
Wow.
That's not easy for you, is it? No. Now, what we need to get down to here today, Jen, is what really happened.
Does she confess?
You need to tell me what went on,
Does she actually confess?
because you know who was in that house that night. You do, Jen. There's no question about that, okay?
Oh.
While remaining empathetic and understanding, the detective still needs to keep Jennifer's confidence low. He watches for denials and stops them immediately. Letting a suspect deny her guilt will only increase confidence and morale. This
No
needs to be
morale.
stripped away as much as possible, as early as possible.
There's no question about it, okay?
The focus is kept from the magnitude of the crime and concentrated on the justifications of why someone would commit it.
Yes, their intentions might have been good, but they're not realistic. They're not, Dan, were they? Jen? Their expectations weren't realistic, were they? You couldn't live up to them, could you?
Oh my God, he's doing
You
it.
tried to,
He's doing it.
right? Am I right?
Oh my God. Oh shit.
And finally you had to bite back, right? You had no other choice. You felt like you had no other options. You thought of everything else, including killing yourself. This is Canada.
This is
In the
Canada.
21st century here. You cannot take everything out of a person. You can have expectations for your kids, but you can't expect them to do everything the way you want. It doesn't feel
wanna
good to have
see her
secrets,
crack.
does it?
No.
You have to let me know what happened here, okay? Okay, but you were involved, right? That's the part we need, okay? We need to hear that from you because we know you were.
The detective appears to be getting nowhere, so he now lowers the gauge of admission. A confession to a lesser offense is far easier to attain, but once it is attained, can be used to build on the more damnatory elements of the case. You'll also notice that he uses broad terms that infer guilt, yet don't directly accuse Jennifer of murder.
You knew before that night that this was going to
Wow.
happen. I'm going to make that easy on you. That's a true statement, right? You knew before that night that they were coming, right?
Oh, she's tired.
Jen? It's not worth it anymore.
3 hours in there.
It's hurting you.
She seems to be on the cusp of giving some form of admission, yet wants reassurance as to what it means for her own sake. She asks this question 9 times throughout this interrogation. It's one of the few things
9
investigators
times?
can't actually lie about, as it's been used countless times in the past to get a case thrown out under misdirection. They can avoid the question, yet they can't afford any false promises with respect to sentencing.
I need to know the details. I can't even say.
Just a crumb. A
But I
crumb.
can tell you one thing is that we already know, so you can't change that.
Why did it stop?
No, you did.
What?
But it got too far ahead of you, right? You didn't think this far ahead, did you?
No response.
But
is
once
an
they
answer.
started, once they came in, you couldn't stop it, could you?
Oh
Could you?
shit.
Jen? Hmm?
I wanted it to stop.
I know. Why didn't they stop for you?
Oh my.
Hmm?
Wait. She
I
and
know who they were.
I don't know. Oh.
But you were part of the planning, right? You have to tell me that part, and then we're going to work through it together. Do you know what I'm saying? You didn't want this. You wanted to stop it. You have to prove that to me now. Because at the end of the day, we have to stop this
crumbling.
from happening to someone else. Right?
What happened to me?
Jen, we're going to have to deal with it one step at a time, okay? I'm going to be honest
Oh
with
my
you.
god. Her stress
I
is
need
on
to
a
know
whole
what
nother
you
level. A crumb.
And then you and I are going to work through this together. Because the most important part of this whole thing is that we do the right thing for your mom. Right? I am her voice right now. I'm working for your mom. That's my job.
Oh.
And I have to get to the bottom of this for your mom.
Appealing to compassion isn't necessarily uncommon when the crime is first-degree murder, yet it can send a mixed message when a justification for the
stressing me
crime
out.
was a focus point early on. The detective takes his chance with it, which at first appears to work. Jennifer initially responds in a poignant manner, but you'll soon come to notice that her empathy, alongside her concern, is solely focused on herself.
But we got to start.
True. She only cares about herself.
I don't know at this point.
Selfish.
Okay, because I
So
don't know
selfish.
what you're going to tell me other than that you were involved. But I need to hear it. What this all was a last-ditch effort to live your own life, to be your own person, to make your own decisions. Look at all your friends. Look at all the people around you. Does anyone else have a curfew for 9 o'clock at 24 years of age? You had no choice here, Jen. I know that.
3 hours.
And anybody else in your situation would have done the exact same thing. The only thing different is I would say that they'd have done it a lot earlier. They would have looked for a way out. When did you first start planning this? When was the final straw? What was the final straw? So that's what this is all about.
The
You
ultimatum.
want to be a good person here?
Jennifer knows exactly what questions to answer and what ones to ignore.
Yeah, she's
Anytime
hanging
a
on.
question is non-incriminating, she gives a response. Yet when they are incriminating, she remains silent. She is no doubt feeling the pressure, but still very aware of the situation and the potential ramifications of her words.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
you know
she's-
when a
she's
good person
hanging in
makes
there.
a mistake, they have to face that mistake, right? Right? What do you think should happen? I don't know. You're going to prove to people that you know what the right thing to do is. That's what is going to happen. That's what your mom wants right now. She's watching us here. She's wondering, is Jen going to make the right decision here? Is Jen, after all of this,
Wait,
going to
she
come out on
doesn't care
top
about what
doing
her
the
mom
right thing?
thinks.
I'm here for you, Jen. I'm here for your mom.
Oh. Oh, God. What happens to her?
Well, you have to tell. It's one of those situations. You know what? We know that what you did, okay? But you have to be able to explain to me what happened, okay? I can't tell you what's exactly going to happen to you. You just have to be brave here. You have to be brave.
"3 hours, 20 minutes, and 26 seconds. The exact amount of time it took for Jennifer to display genuine emotion. The
What?
investigator would later testify this was the first
Let me
moment
see.
the suspect was being authentic. He
Let me
allows
see.
her to fixate on whatever thought brought this on, and remains completely silent for just under 2 minutes.
Sorry, aren't you?
She said, mm-hmm.
They were supposed to take you.
Oh! Oh my god!
Okay,
Oh, is that enough for a confession?
so we were supposed to take the whole family out?
No, just me.
What went wrong?
Wait, oh god.
The detective now has one foot in the door. It's not an
Yeah,
outright
that-
confession, but Jennifer
The
has
door's
now
open
admitted
now.
to planning the home invasion all along. And although she asserts that she was the
Oh, that's a
intended
confession.
target while her parents were meant to be spared, the information she has now given is enough to place her under arrest. Jennifer is no longer going home after this interview. The detective now presses for more information on the amended storyline. It's essentially step 1 of day 1 all over again, but from a more powerful position. He knows she is still lying, and now locks her into as many lies as possible within the new narrative.
What happened?
I don't know.
Why did it change?
I don't know.
Okay, what do you know? How come it was supposed to be you?
Because I didn't want to be here anymore.
Why not?
Because I was such a disappointment.
Okay, you made mistakes, but nothing that couldn't be corrected. Why was it supposed to be you?
I want everyone to be free from me.
Why did it happen this way then?
I don't know. Everyone to be free from me. I was disappointed in everything.
Okay, but why did it have to happen?
So, I just want to be sure. Why is he touching a lot? He's rubbing her back. She's like, he's comforting her to, like, you know, make her feel like he's an ally. So I think this is a confession because even though she's still lying about, like, what was supposed to happen, like she's saying that she was supposed to be the one that was killed, it still is a confession that she was involved with them coming to murder, right? So that's a confession, right? I don't know.
I tried suicide too.
Oh, my camera. Oh, I don't know where a good place to put my camera. I'll do this.
What did you want done?
I'm sorry. Hold on.
All over again, but from a more
Okay, what do you know?
Okay.
How come it was supposed to be you?
It initiated her planning. Okay. Okay.
Because I didn't want to be here anymore.
Why not?
Because I was such a disappointment.
Okay, you made mistakes, but nothing that couldn't be corrected. Why was it supposed to be you?
I want everyone to be free from me.
Why did it happen this way then?
I don't know. Everyone to be free from me. I was disappointed in everything.
Okay, but why did it have to happen this way?
Because when I tried suicide, I failed.
What did you want done? How?
Didn't matter.
Okay.
She's still
So who did you
lying,
get
but
to do
like,
this then?
I don't know who he is. I just got his number.
oh jeez.
Okay, and what's his number?
I don't memorize it.
She skirts around the questions surrounding her accomplices and gives multiple fake names. She stated that she got the number of the supposed hitman from an acquaintance named Rick, and that she took everything from there over the phone. It becomes apparent she doesn't want to give up, or even mention her boyfriend, so for the time being, the detective allows her to recount her amended narrative in the manner she pleases.
Whoa.
She gets to the moment she instructed the hitman over the phone about her planned suicide.
I told him that I wanted to be killed.
And did he think that was something crazy?
He said, "Are you sure that's what you want?" And I said, "Yes."
Because I don't think many people get that request.
What the heck?
Do you?
Dude.
Yeah, that's what I wanted, and he asked me over and over just to make sure I was sure, and I said I was sure.
Okay, so what did you ask him to do then?
Come take me out and then leave.
Okay. Why did they do it when you were...
I can't. This is like her last ditch
Your
effort.
parents were there then?
Never alone. In the nighttime.
Okay. So that meeting you had with Rick, you told him what you wanted?
No, I just said that I wanted, if he knew anybody who could take care of something that I needed, just that I wanted to be killed.
And he said what?
Here's the number.
Did he have the number with him that day?
What? It just doesn't make sense.
What did he say he would do?
It doesn't make
He
sense.
just like, "Let me take care of it. Let me do me."
So your specific request to him was what?
Yeah, he just did that for free, huh?
Make sure you kill me.
So he does come into the house, and you're the obvious only young girl there, right? Okay. When he came to your room, what discussions did you have with the guy that came to your room? The real discussions you had, not what you told us.
Where was the money? And I showed him where the money was.
Okay. But he obviously said, "I'm here to do what you asked."
He never said anything like that.
What did he say?
Just like hands behind your back.
Did he discuss ways with you how he would do it?
No.
Did you request any way for him to do it?
To make sure no one else was around.
Okay. Why didn't they do it the way you wanted?
I don't know. I asked them to take me with my mom when they took them away.
It doesn't seem to make sense.
I know it doesn't make sense to me. Because I was supposed to be.
Okay. Can you sit up for a minute, Jen? Okay, look at me.
The detective wants an
Oh,
outright confession, and the second direct confrontation is about to commence.
Eye contact.
Only this time it will be a lot more aggressive, as he doesn't have to worry as much about the suspect locking up or requesting counsel. She is under arrest and going to jail after this interrogation no matter what.
Look at me. Okay. What I do believe is that you went to somebody. And I do believe that night you paid them the $2,000. But what's not true is it was never for you. Okay, Jen, no.
Oh my
Okay,
god.
you went to this person
Oh my god.
and you asked them to do a job.
Oh my god.
And the job was for your parents. You asked them to do this job on your parents, Jen. Okay? Let's be truthful. Okay? Nobody's going to come there and get the wrong people. If you wanted to kill yourself, Jen, you're not going to pay somebody $2,000 to do it.
I couldn't do it myself.
Okay.
So
But there's other ways. Okay? And if that was going to happen, they could have taken you outside and done it anywhere. It wouldn't matter, would it? If you really wanted to die, all they would have had to do is pull up beside you in a car and shoot you. You made a specific request, and the job was for your mom and dad. Okay? Nobody's going to come in there and do the wrong job. Okay? Nobody's going to do that. They came, you paid, and they did what they were
4
supposed to do.
hours.
And the plan was for your parents.
Me.
Okay? Jen, you have to be honest with it. This is the only thing that's in contention here. Okay? You made the mistake, okay? Everybody understands. Everybody in this police department feels sorry for you. I can tell you that right now. Okay?
I don't
Because
feel
they
sorry
see
for
what you're
her.
going through. It's so obvious. Okay? That all this tension they put out, basically this is like a volcano. All right? And at one point, it was just too much, and you erupted, okay? And you made a bad decision, okay? And once you hired this guy, there was no turning back. Now, in the original story, you said that you hid your cell phone, okay? If it was for you, you wouldn't have hid your cell phone. That would have never happened.
Oh!
So it's no conflict.
Oh, shit!
I put
True!
it there naturally. It's what I naturally do.
Okay, but you said on tape that you hid it there and that they didn't know about it. That's your language, not mine, Jen.
Oh,
All they wanted was so much success out of you, they were not even looking at you as a person. They were looking for a success story. Instead of just saying, whatever Jen wants is what's good for us.
my ears.
Whatever
Wait, am I
she's
loud?
happy with. As long as she's
Am I now?
happy
Am I
with her
better?
life, I'm happy with it. If she wants to work at Eastside Mario's for the rest of her life,
Am I loud?
that's fine. If she wants to be a piano teacher, that's great. If she wants to continue figure skating, that's wonderful. Why would somebody shoot someone they didn't have to shoot?
I don't know. I can't figure that out.
And actually not shoot the person they're supposed to shoot?
I don't know. That's what I'm trying to figure out.
Okay, why didn't you tell us this that night then?
Yeah. Huh? Why didn't you say that earlier?
Scared.
Scared of what? Telling the truth?
Scared of telling the
Yeah.
truth.
That I wanted to die. But
Okay,
instead,
but listen, if you wanted to die, you would tell us everything because it wouldn't matter. Jen? If you really wanted to die, you would tell us everything because it doesn't really matter. Right?
it does matter because the wrong person got hurt. And my dad is suffering.
You don't
I
care, bitch.
appreciate that's what happened in the end, but that's what was supposed to happen. Okay? The good thing about this is your dad did live. And that went against the plan.
Mm-hmm.
If you could make this decision over, you would change it. Okay? You would change it. Right?
Of course. If I knew he was going to get hurt, of course I wouldn't.
Jen, you knew who was going to get hurt. That's the whole issue.
Oh my god.
Okay, that's the whole issue here.
That's the whole
You gave them the
issue.
plan for your parents, right? That's all I need to hear.
No,
Jen, you did.
no. And this is not going to go anywhere because I wanted them to kill me.
Tell me what happened.
I told you what happened.
Okay, all of it.
You did.
Okay, all
She's
you have
tired.
to do is here is tell me right now.
She's tired.
That, Bill, yes, I made a mistake.
Oh, yes, I made a mistake.
This plan was for my parents.
The detective gets no further admission from this point forward, so he leaves Jennifer alone for 3 minutes to play with her hair before he comes back and charges her with first-degree murder.
Okay. I need you to listen close to me, okay, Jen?
Oh my
At
god,
this
here
point
we
in the
go.
investigation, okay, I'm going to be arresting you for murder, okay? Also attempted murder and conspiracy to commit murder. Do you understand that? Just have to tell me if you understand those charges. Just say yes or no. Yes. Okay. So what we're going to do right now is, do you have your own lawyer? No? Okay. Do you have a lawyer you would like to speak to?
Oh, this
that
is
you
so
know of?
satisfying.
Okay. Would you like to speak to duty counsel?
I'm talking to someone who can help me understand.
Okay, so who would that be?
I don't know.
So do you have a lawyer?
You said that you were on my side. And I was,
Okay, I am on your side, Jen. What would you like to do?
Oh, get fucked. Oh my
I
god.
don't have any idea what to do.
Do you want me to call duty counsel for you?
He's so good.
Okay. Or is there any other lawyer that you would like?
I don't know what I need.
Okay. So at this point, you wish to speak to duty counsel then?
What is a duty counsel?
Okay. So what I'm going to have to get you to do is actually empty all your pockets on the table here. I'm going to make sure that they're making the call to
Handcuffer!
duty counsel, and we'll line that up, and you can speak to the duty counsel in private, okay?
Idiot.
we've made a call to duty council, and we're just waiting for them to call back, okay? Need a drink of water or anything?
No water.
What's that? I do have to go and speak to these officers, but I'll come back and speak to you, okay? Well, we got to take care of the lawyers.
Oh
okay?
my God.
That's the priority right now. Okay?
He did such a good job making her feel like he was an ally that
The
she
next
still
time
wanted
Jennifer
him to
would
stay.
see this detective would be when he testified at her trial. It began on the 14th of March 2014, and Jennifer pled not guilty to all charges. Her interrogation tape was one of the more damning pieces of evidence put forward by the prosecution. Yet the most damning were the 116 text messages between her and her boyfriend in the 6 hours leading up to the murder. They thought using burner phones to communicate would cover their tracks, yet forensics were able to uncover the entire discussion just 1 month after the incident. They spoke in detail about how the crime would be carried out, and it was enough to convict them both, as well as each of the intruders who were linked to the crime via DNA evidence and witness testimony. They were all found guilty of first-degree murder and given a life sentence without the possibility of parole for 25 years. Jennifer Pan is now 34 years of age. She is currently serving her sentence at the Grand Valley Institution for Women in Kitchener, Ontario. She will be first eligible for parole in November of 2035.
What about your dad?
He drives a Mercedes and he loves that baby.
Is that right?
They really added that in there, huh? I am shocked. Oh my God. I can't believe they used burner phones and they found the burner phones a month later. That is so cool. Oh my gosh. Wow, I am just... Dude, okay. These people think they're so smart. They think they're getting away with stuff. But I feel like forensics people, the FBI, detectives, interrogators, all of that, they've seen all of this so many times. They're actually professionals. It's so cool. Wow. Idiots.